I'm Dr. Larry Burk, and my guest today is my wife, Dagmar Ehling. She's a licensed acupuncturist, also a Chinese herbalist, a functional medicine practitioner, nutritional counselor, and homeopathic practitioner at Oriental Health Solutions here in Durham, North Carolina. It's the largest acupuncture practice in the Research Triangle Park, and she's treated quite a few people with shoulder pain successfully over the years. She's been in practice for over 30 years. She's also healed her own bilateral frozen shoulders in the last few years. So we're going to start with some questions back and forth between the two of us, and start with, what emotional burdens were you carrying on your shoulders at the time when they started to freeze?
So initially I started working in the garden, and I was weeding, and I was having some experience around the weeding because they kept coming back, the weeds, they came back. And it just, it just was so futile, and I just kept ripping them out, and it was just tedious.
And you got more and more angry, right?
Yeah, and I got angry, and and it was hot, and it was sweaty, and it was just very unpleasant. So, and coupled with that, I also had some family burdens in Germany, and I had some, issues with our office building at the clinic. We had some challenges there, and so it just sort of all culminated, and I started having right shoulder pain to begin with, and it started then to freeze up, and then the left shoulder started to do the same thing, and it was very limiting and painful, and I had a hard time sleeping because I couldn't sleep on my side, on either side for that matter, and couldn't take my shirts off, and it was just really challenging. So
it seems like a perfect storm of emotional conflict, because we love our garden, we love our family in Germany, and we love our office, but there was this building of resentment of carrying these burdens that went on. So what approaches did you use to heal your frozen shoulders?
So I used, obviously, what I know, which is Chinese herbs. I got regular acupuncture. I used EFT to deal with my emotional burdens and my, challenges and feelings around all the things that were culminating at that time. And that was very helpful, and I also used homeopathy, looked at my diet and figured out what else I could do differently, and
I think you also did some body work.
Correct, yes.
But later in the course.
That was later, yeah.
Similar to when a physical therapist, they often don't want to do physical therapy on you early in the course because they just hurt you, as opposed to later in the course when you're starting to get your motion back. That's when the body work really helps.
Exactly. And I also used homeopathics, and so I used everything that I know, and so that ultimately proved to be really great, and I'm now perfectly fine. I have full range of motion. I can get my hands up to my scapula on both sides. That was something I wasn't able to do for quite a while. So, and they just unfroze, and I have no pain.
And it took a little bit less than a year to get through both of those.
Yeah, it was about 10 months or so.
And compared to some people who wind up with bilateral frozen shoulders, they're frozen for a year or so on one side, and then the other shoulder starts to go, and they wind up suffering for 3 or 4 years. So there's a major improvement compared to that.
Yeah, totally.
So what kind of recommendations do you make to your patients in clinic who are dealing with pain, shoulder pain in particular, but shoulder pain in general?
Yeah, so from a nutritional point of view, that's always the easiest to work on, I think, because that's something that people can control. And so what I do is I do a dietary inventory. So I ask them what they eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and what kinds of snacks they eat. And the idea is always that in functional and Chinese medicine, we always want to look at the terrain. So in the terrain of the physiology of the body in which some condition, pain or complaint is happening, and we want to make sure that the physiology has the opportunity to work harmoniously, that all the systems work harmoniously together. And so when I do a dietary inventory, I want to see if there's anything that disrupts the physiology. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that a person has a healthy blood sugar, meaning that it's a healthy blood sugar 24/7. They don't have any spikes, or they don't have any They don't have any low blood sugar at any given time, because when they have low blood sugar or high blood sugar, their adrenals pump out cortisol and adrenaline, which are stress hormones, and those stress hormones then trigger inflammatory cytokines, which are inflammatory cell messengers that trigger inflammation in the body.
Now, sugar is very pro-inflammatory, right?
Correct, right, correct. Sugar is very pro-inflammatory. So if a person tells me that they eat, pasta and pizza and bread all the time, then I know that they're going to have insulin resistance, which means they're going to have, insulin, glucose spikes. Insulin tries to push the glucose into the cells but can't. So that is causing inflammation, that phenomenon.
And the that explains why diabetics are more prone to get frozen shoulders.
Correct,
So.
correct. So those are some things. So we want to make sure they don't eat sugar, they don't eat tons of carbs. We want to make sure they eat whole foods, so nothing packaged, ideally. And so those are things. And then, of course, we use some supplements as well.
Supplements that have anti-inflammatory effects, and also, right. I understand you use homeopathy as well.
Correct, yeah. So I use all those tools in the toolbox.
And in homeopathy, there's remedies for pain, but also for, I guess, the shoulder in particular?
Yep. So yeah, there's the specific frozen shoulder protocols, both one for right, one for left, and then there are some general shoulder pain remedies.
So you've heard about lots of different options to heal your shoulder pain, and Dagmar has a 3-month waiting list. So if you want more of her healing wisdom, we have 3 bonus gifts I'm offering for registration for my Shoulder Pain Rapid Healing course, which starts on Monday, November 18th. Registration will close on Friday night at midnight. If you go to larryburkmd.com, you can find out more details about the course and also how to register. So I want to thank Dagmar for having this dialogue today.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you've all learned something, and hope to see many of you on Monday for the course. It will be live Zoom interactive classes over the Monday, the 18th, the 20th, 22nd, and concluding on the 25th. And there'll be also recordings. If you miss the live session, you can immediately get access to the there are going to be experiential exercises related to many of the self-healing techniques that we'll be doing. So see you then. Bye.